You aren't actually exhausted because you are working too hard. You are exhausted because you are trying to win battles that God never asked you to fight. Think about it. We have all been there, staring at a glowing screen at 2 in the morning, pacing the room with a racing mind, and rubbing a tired face. We feel completely drained. We have been taught that the word surrender means giving up, losing, and waving a white flag. But in God's kingdom, surrender is not the moment you lose the war. It is the exact moment you stop fighting the only one who can actually save you. The real problem is a dangerous trap that many of us fall into without even knowing it. We have mixed up hard work with true faith. We pray for God's help on Sunday, but our daily actions show that we only trust what we can manage and control on Monday. We say we believe that God is in charge, but then we spend our lives white-knuckling our money, our friendships, and our futures. This is a major mistake. We have separated our faith from our need to control everything around us. We treat God like He is just a helpful consultant we can call when things get rough, rather than the true Lord over our lives. When we do this, we break our faith into tiny, weak pieces. True surrender means letting go of the steering wheel completely and trusting that He knows exactly how to drive. To fix this mistake, we have to look closely at what the Bible actually means when it talks about surrender. In our modern world, we usually think surrender means quitting or just letting things happen to us. But the original languages of the Bible tell a completely different story. It is not about being weak or giving up. When you look at the ancient Hebrew language, one of the main words used for trust and yielding is batach. This word carries the idea of feeling totally secure, safe, and careless, not careless in a bad way, but having zero worries because you know someone strong has your back. It means throwing your full weight onto something, knowing it will not break. The Greek language goes even deeper with a fascinating word, hypotasso. In our English Bibles, this word is often translated as submit or surrender, which can sound a bit scary or negative to us today. But in ancient times, hypotasso was actually a military term. It did not mean to cower in fear or crawl away in defeat. Instead, it meant to intentionally arrange yourself or line up under the authority of a leader. Imagine an ancient battlefield. A single soldier standing alone with a small shield is an easy target. But when that soldier steps into formation, lining up his shield right next to the shields of his comrades, they create an unbreakable wall. By choosing to align himself under the command of a great general, the soldier gains the ultimate protection of the entire army. That is what true biblical surrender looks like. It is not defeat at all. It is strategic alignment. When you surrender to God, you are not laying down in the dirt to let life trample over you. You are choosing to step inside the ultimate shield wall. You are placing your life, your family, and your worries under the direct protection and authority of the greatest commander who ever lived. It means stopping your lonely, exhausting fight so that the Creator of the universe can start fighting for you. When you understand that surrender is about stepping into God's protective shield wall, it exposes a massive problem in how we live today. Most of us operate under a hidden rule that says, I will trust God after I have tried absolutely everything else first. We treat prayer as a last resort instead of our first defense. We spend all our time and energy trying to fix things on our own, and only when our plans completely fall apart do we finally lift our hands and say, okay God, now I need you. This way of living is a form of secret self-sabotage, and it is the real root of our constant stress. Think of anxiety as the smoke rising from a hidden fire. That fire is something called functioning atheism. That is a heavy term, but it simply means that while we might say we believe in God with our mouths, we act like He does not exist with our actions. When you stay up all night worrying, pacing the floor, and trying to force things to go your way, you are subtly sending a message to heaven. You are telling God, I do not think you are going to handle this correctly, so I have to do it myself. It is like trying to drive a car while sitting in the passenger seat, constantly reaching over to grab the steering wheel from the person who actually knows the way. It is dangerous, it is terrifying, and it leaves you completely exhausted. We think that by gripping tighter and controlling every little detail, we are keeping ourselves safe. But the data of our daily lives shows the exact opposite. The tighter we hold on, the more anxious we become. When we refuse to step into alignment with God and choose instead to rely entirely on our own strength, we are essentially walking out from behind the shield wall and trying to fight the entire battle alone. To see what happens when this exhausting self-reliance finally hits a wall, we have to look at a powerful story from the Bible. It is the story of a man named Jacob. Jacob was the ultimate hustler, a master manipulator who spent his entire life scheming, lying, and running to get ahead. But eventually, his past caught up with him. He found himself on the run, about to face his furious brother, Esau, who was marching toward him with 400 armed men. Jacob tried every human trick he knew. He split his family into groups, sent expensive gifts ahead to calm his brother down, and calculated every possible safety move. Finally, he ran out of options. He was left completely alone in the pitch black of the desert night by the edge of the Jabbok River. Suddenly, out of the darkness, a mysterious man grabbed him. For the rest of the night, Jacob engaged in a brutal, exhausting wrestling match. But here is the deep truth that many people miss: Jacob was not wrestling against a human enemy. He was wrestling against the angel of the Lord. More importantly, Jacob was wrestling against surrendering his control. Even in the dark, with his life on the line, his first instinct was to fight, scheme, and rely on his own physical strength to survive. He did not want to let go. The match went on for hours until the turning point arrived. Seeing that Jacob would not yield, the Lord reached out and struck Jacob's hip socket, popping it completely out of place. In ancient warfare, your hip was the absolute foundation of your strength. If a soldier had a thrown-out hip, he could no longer balance, he could no longer hold his ground to fight, and he certainly could not run away. With one touch, God instantly destroyed Jacob's ability to rely on himself. This moment of total brokenness was actually his moment of rescue. Jacob could no longer fight, so he had to make a choice. In that exact moment of forced surrender, he stopped fighting and started clinging. He wrapped his arms around the Lord and refused to let go, choosing to depend entirely on God's mercy rather than his own broken strength. I know how terrifying it feels to even think about letting go like that. When you have spent your whole life managing every detail, the idea of surrendering feels like stepping off the edge of a cliff into total darkness. It feels like you are losing control and leaving yourself completely unprotected. But as someone who has studied these patterns and walked this road, I want you to see what is actually happening beneath the surface. God did not touch Jacob's hip to punish him or make his life miserable. He broke Jacob's self-reliance to save his life. If Jacob had gone to meet his angry brother using his own clever tricks and physical strength, he would have been destroyed. By breaking his ability to run and fight, God forced Jacob into a position where he had to rely entirely on divine protection. Surrender is not a heavy, rule-filled religious demand meant to make you weak or helpless. It is actually a beautiful invitation. It is an offer to exchange your fragile, limited human strength for God's permanent, unstoppable power. Think about how much energy it takes to white-knuckle your way through life, constantly worrying about your future, your family, or your job. You are carrying a massive weight that your mind and body were never designed to hold. Surrender is the incredible relief of finally dropping that heavy backpack at the feet of someone who can handle it effortlessly. It is not defeat, it is the ultimate freedom of letting the Creator of the universe carry the load for you. It is easy to talk about surrender when we are looking at an ancient river in a Bible story, but we need to bring this concept down to earth. What does surrender actually look like in your ordinary, everyday life? Let us test it at 9:15 a.m. on a normal Tuesday morning. Imagine you are sitting at your desk, sipping your coffee, when a sudden trigger hits you. You get a company-wide email hinting at upcoming layoffs, or maybe you receive a harsh text message from someone that instantly pokes at your deepest insecurities. In a split second, your heart rate spikes, your chest tightens, and your brain activates its usual survival mode. This is the moment your reactionary hustle kicks into high gear. Your mind immediately starts scheming, panicking, and trying to manipulate the situation. You start drafting angry or defensive responses, calculating how to fix your image, or scrolling through worst-case scenarios in your head. You are right back at the river, wrestling to keep control. But this is exactly where you can choose a different path by using a real surrender practice. Instead of letting your panic take over, you choose to stop. You physically open your hands, placing them flat on your desk or your lap as a sign to your body that the fight is over. You intentionally step away from the keyboard and take a deep breath. Right there in your office or your room, you execute that internal alignment we talked about earlier. You say to yourself, God, I cannot control this company's economy, and I cannot force this person to like me. I choose to line up under your shield wall right now. I yield the outcome of this day completely to you. This simple practice changes your whole internal state. It moves you out of the stressful passenger seat and lets God drive. By training yourself to stop the frantic hustle the moment a trigger happens, you transform a scary situation into an opportunity to experience true peace. To help you see where you really stand, we need to look at a simple diagnostic checklist. It is very easy to use religious coping mechanisms to trick ourselves into thinking we have surrendered when we actually haven't. Let us run a quick, rapid-fire comparison between fake surrender and true surrender so you can spot the difference immediately. First, fake surrender looks like passive resignation. It is saying, whatever happens, happens, and just drifting along with zero effort. True surrender is active alignment. It means doing everything you can with excellence, but leaving the final results completely up to God. Second, fake surrender shows up in our prayers when we bring God a list of our own pre-made plans and ask Him to stamp them with His blessing. True surrender means coming to God with a totally blank piece of paper, offering Him your life, and saying, "You write the story, and I will follow." Third, with fake surrender, you will experience severe anxiety the moment things deviate from your personal timeline or expectations. Your mood crashes because your control is threatened. With true surrender, you experience a deep, internal peace even when things go wrong, because you trust the one who holds the ultimate timeline. Fourth, fake surrender uses manipulation, whispering, and force to smash open doors that have clearly been closed. You try to hustle your way into opportunities. True surrender gives you the strength to calmly walk away from doors that God has shut, trusting that He has a better path ahead. Finally, fake surrender is simply giving up because you are exhausted and tired of trying. It comes from a place of defeat and burnout. True surrender, however, allows you to rest deeply because you know that even while you are sleeping, God is actively working behind the scenes on your behalf. Take an honest look at these two paths. If you find yourself on the fake side of the list, do not feel discouraged. Recognize the pattern, drop the heavy weight of self-reliance, and make the switch to true alignment today. If you are wondering how you can find the courage to actually make this switch, you need a solid anchor. Human willpower is not enough to make us let go of control. We need absolute security, and that security comes from a historical promise. To find it, we have to connect the broken hip of Jacob directly to the broken body of Jesus Christ. The greatest act of surrender in human history did not actually happen under the stars at the Jabbok River. It happened thousands of years later, in the pitch black of a garden called Gethsemane. There, Jesus knelt on the cold ground, facing the most terrifying reality imaginable. He knew the pain, the betrayal, and the brutal weight of the cross were coming. The pressure was so intense that he literally sweated drops of blood. Yet, in that exact moment of ultimate crisis, Jesus did not try to scheme, manipulate, or run away. Instead, he offered the ultimate prayer of alignment, "Not my will, but yours be done." Jesus surrendered his comfort, his safety, and his very life to the Father's plan. Because he walked that path all the way to the cross, his body was broken so that your relationship with God could be permanently fixed. This gives us an unbreakable covenant assurance. A covenant is a serious, unchangeable blood promise. By dying for you, Jesus proved his total loyalty. He showed that he is willing to go to the absolute extreme to protect and save you. This historical fact changes everything about how we view surrender. You are not handing the steering wheel over to a distant, angry tyrant who wants to use you or hurt you. You are surrendering your life to a loving Heavenly Father who has already proven, in blood, that he can be completely trusted. You are safe. Because his hands were pierced by nails for your sake, you can safely place your future, your family, and your deepest fears into those very same hands. When Jacob finally let go and stopped fighting, his entire life was transformed. He walked away from that river with a permanent limp, but he also walked away with something far more valuable, a brand new name. God changed his name from Jacob, which meant manipulator, to Israel, which meant prince with God. The limp was a daily physical reminder that his old days of lonely, exhausting hustling were officially over. The moment he surrendered his control, his identity changed, his relationship with God changed, and his entire future changed. He no longer had to rely on his own tricks to survive, because he was finally walking in the favor and power of the Almighty. You have the exact same choice before you today. You can keep staying up late, wrestling in your own limited strength, and running yourself into the ground. Or, you can step out of the passenger seat, stop fighting the only one who can truly protect you, and experience the incredible freedom of alignment. If you are ready to make that shift right now, I want you to join our community in a powerful, active declaration. If you are ready to stop wrestling and finally hand the steering wheel over to God, type this specific phrase in the comments below, tools down, hands up. Let us flood the comments section with this statement as a physical sign that we are choosing to step inside God's protective shield wall together. As you post it, take a moment to look at the other comments, read the names of the people standing right beside you, and pray for someone else who made the exact same choice. Let us support each other as a community, drop our heavy burdens, and watch how everything changes the moment we truly surrender.